We continue now at the top of Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis Meseches Avodah Zara. This is Avodah Zarah Daf 28b. The Gemara continues that Rabbi Yaakov was suffering bepika. He was suffering from hemorrhoids. Ori lay Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami instructed him. V'amri lo. Some have the version Rabbi Asi Ori lay. That Rabbi Asi is the one that instructed him. Lasi shevet binei ahola tolana. Bring 7 seeds of ice plant that are red like a worm. V'tzayer lay b'chalola deveit savara, and bind them in the collar of a shirt. V'lichrich ilove nira barka, and wrap a strip of hair around it. V'tomish le b'natva chivra, and dip it in white naphtha. V'likle uvader le ilove, and burn it, and spread it upon the sores. Adhachi v'hachi, and in the meantime, lesi keshisa da'asna, bring a kernel of bramble, a leinech pika lahade pika, and put its crevice by his crevice, meaning the area where he is afflicted. V'hani mili pika ilah, and that's if the hemorrhoids we're talking about are at the upper crevice, but pika tasa, but if they're at the lower crevice, mai, so what should he do in that case? Laisi tarba de tzvirta de lo iftach, he should bring the fat of a goat that has not yet opened, meaning it hasn't given birth. Vilafashar velishti bay, and he should melt it, and he should apply it to the area which is afflicted. And the Gemara continues, vilo, if he's not able to do that, laisi tlos tarfa karod miyavshi betula, he should bring 3 pumpkin leaves that were dried in the shade. Velikli, and he should burn them. Vilivadri love, and again he should apply it to the irritated area. And the Gemara continues, vilo, and if this is not possible, laisi meshakti chalzoni, he should bring snail shells instead. And the Gemara continues, vilo, and if this is not possible, maisi meshach kira, he should bring oil with wax. Vilinkot b'shachke dechisna bekaita, and he should smear it on worn flax in the summer, udiyamar gufna besisva, and on cotton in the winter. And he should place that on the irritated area. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Avo, chosh be'udne, Rabbi Avo was suffering in his ear. Ori lay Rabbi Yochanan instructed him. V'amri lay, there are some that have the version Bei Midrasha, that it was the scholars of the Beis Medrash that instructed him. My Ori lay, and what did they instruct him to do? Ki had yamar Abaye, it's like what Abaye said. Amr liyem, Abaye said that my mother said to me, Lo ivri kol yasa ela le'udna, that the kidneys were created for the ear, meaning they're beneficial for the ear. V'amar Rava, and Rava said, Amar li min yume asya, min yume the healer. He said to me, Kulu shakyanu, all liquids, kashu le'udna, they're all bad for the ear. Levar mi maya de kol yasa, except for the liquid that comes from the kidney. And so the Gemara therefore continues, Laisi kol yasa devarcha karcha, bring the kidney of a bald goat, v'lekare shasiva erev, and tear it vertically and horizontally, v'leinach amulola denura, and place it on dimming coals, v'hanu maya, and as to the liquid, the nafki minei, that comes out of the kidneys, lishdinu bu'udne, he should apply that to his ears, lo karire v'lo chamime, not too cold and not too hot, ela peshure, rather he should apply it when it is tepid. And the Gemara continues, v'lo, and if that is not possible, laisi tarba dechipushta gamlonisa, he should bring the fat of a large beetle, v'lifashar v'lishdi bay, and he should melt that and he should apply it to the ear. And the Gemara continues, v'lo, and if that is not possible, l'malye l'udne mishcha, he should fill his ear with oil, v'liyavid sheva pesilta diaspasta, and he should prepare 7 wicks of alfalfa, v'laisi shufta detuma, and he should bring dried garlic ends, v'leis of barka b'chad reisha, and he should tie the wicks with a strip of hair at one end, v'lisli b'hunura, and set them aflame, v'idach reisha, and the other end of each wick, mosva b'udna, he should place it in his ear, v'leis of udne lahade nur, and he should place his ear opposite the flame, v'yizdar mizeka, he should be careful from any wind, v'nishkol chada v'nanach chada, he should take one and then replace it with the other one as he goes through each wick in the same fashion. And the Gemara continues, Lishna Achrin, another version of the above remedy, v'ilo, if this is not possible, laisi shev psilta bikra, he should bring 7 wicks of wax tapers, v'shayif le mishcha daspasta, and smear them with oil of alfalfa, v'naisi chad reisha benura, and put one side of it, one end of it in fire, v'chad reisha bu'udne, and then the other end put in his ear, v'nishkol chada v'nana chada, and again take one and then replace it with the other, go through all of the wicks, v'yazdar mizeka, and again he should be careful of any wind. And the Gemara continues, v'lo, and if this is not possible, laisi udra denoda de lo mashkif, he should bring fiber that's dried but not combed, v'nanach bo, and place it in his ear, v'lesalye le'udne lahade nura, and he should place his ear opposite the fire, and again umizdar mizeka, he should be careful from any wind. And the Gemara continues, v'ilo, and if this is not possible, laisi guvsa dekanya atika, he should bring the tube of an aged reed, bar ma'ashanin, that's 100 years old, v'limleche milcha gilal nisan, he should salt it with rock salt, v'likli v'lidbik, and he should burn it and stick it in his ear. And the Gemara says, v'simonech, and the mnemonic to remember this, retiva li'abeshta, that you use moist for dry afflictions, v'yabeshta l'retiva, and you use dry for moist afflictions. And Rashi explains, Retiva liyabeshta v'yabiva, again, moist for dry and dry for moist. Kol refuas halalu, all of these different ways of healing. Einon shavas l'chol cholei ozen, you're not supposed to apply all of them for every illness of the ear. Ela ozen refuas sheyesh ben davar lach, rather those healings that have something moist, kagon maya dechulisu, meshachkira, like the liquid from the kidney or like the oil of the wax, the chayotze ben, and similar malin laozen yabosha, that's good for an ear that's dry, sheyesh lo choli, ve'ena motzia lecha, means to say that the person is ill, but there's no moisture coming out. Refuas shal yavesh, and then the healings that were dry, kagon guvsa dekanya, like the reed tube, umilcha galal nisa, and the rock salt, leudna retiva, that's for an ear that's moist, meaning hamotzia lecha, where there's liquid that's coming out of the ear. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava bar Zutra, Amar Rabbi Chanina. Rava bar Zutra says that Rabbi Chanina says, Malin oznayim b'Shabbos, one is allowed to raise the ears on Shabbos. This is referring to fixing a dislocated jaw. Tani Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda taught biyad, you're allowed to do this with the hand, by hand. Avalo besam, but not using medicine. Iko diamri, there are those that say besam, avalo biyad. You can use a medicine, but you cannot use the hand. My time, and what's the reason for that? Mizraf zarif. The reason is mizraf zarif. And Rashi explains, avalo besam, you're not allowed to use medicine, hoel ve'efsher biyad, since it's possible to use the hand. That's the first opinion. And the second opinion is you're not allowed to use the hand because mizraf zarif means osa chabura, it creates a wound, v'yesh chilul Shabbos yoser, and there's actually more desecration of Shabbos if you do it by hand. Avol kshira sam ein sham chil doraisa, but if you're going to use a medicine, there you don't have a chilul Shabbos on a doraisa level. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Zutra bar Tuvia Marav. Rav Zutra bar Tuvia says that Rav says, Ayin shemord, an eye that rebels, that means there's a danger that it's going to come out of its socket. Mutter lekochla b'Shabbos, it is permitted to apply blue eyeshadow to that eye on Shabbos. And the Gemara says, Savra minei, the sages thought to say, Hani milihu deshachki samon and me'esmol. That's only true. It's only permitted to do that if the ingredients were ground up from yesterday before Shabbos. Avol mishchak b'Shabbos, but to grind up the ingredients on Shabbos, v'yasuye derech rosh hashanah, and then to bring it through the public thoroughfare, which would be an isur doraisa, lo. So then no, that would not be permitted. Amar lu ha'umei rabbanan. So one of the rabbanan said to them, Rav Yaakov Shemei, and Rav Yaakov was his name. He said, L'didi mefarshim minei de Rav Yehuda. It was explained to me from Rav Yehuda, afilu mishchak b'Shabbos, even if you're going to grind up the ingredients on Shabbos, v'yasuye derech rosh hashanah, even if you're going to bring it through the rosh hashanah, mutter, it is permitted. And the Gemara continues, Rav Yehuda shara l'mikchol eina b'Shabbos. Rav Yehuda permitted to apply blue eyeshadow on Shabbos. Amar lehu Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda. Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda said to them, Man sayis liYehuda machal Shabbi. Who's going to listen to Yehuda, to Rav Yehuda, who is the desecrator of Shabbos, that he's permitting this? And L'sov chosh b'yeni, but the Gemara says in the end, Rav Shmuel bar Yehuda himself, he had such an ailment with his eye, and so shalach lei, so he sent the message to Rav Yehuda. He sent to him, Shari Osir, is it permitted or is it forbidden? Shalach lei, he sent back to him, L'kuli alma shari, for everybody else it's permitted, but l'didach asir, but for you it's asir, because again, you disparaged me when I permitted it. V'chi mididihu, and is this heter even coming from me? To Mar Shmuel, it's actually coming from Mar Shmuel, because da'yamsa da'hava be Mar Shmuel, because there was a maidservant by Mar Shmuel, that her eye became infected on Shabbos, tzavchen, she screamed, v'leka da'ashkach, but nobody paid attention to her, paka eina, and then the eye came out of its socket, l'mochar nofak Mar Shmuel v'darish, and the next day Mar Shmuel went out and darshaned, ayin shemard, an eye that rebels, mutter l'kochla b'Shabbos, it is mutter to apply the blue eyeshadow to it on Shabbos. And my time, what's the reason for that? Dishor yoni de'ena, that the tendons of the eye, bu'uvna deli batalu, they are dependent upon the valves of the heart. And the Gemara continues, Kagon Mai, for example, what kinds of ailments of the eye are considered to be a danger to one's life? Amar Rav Yehuda says, Kagon Rira, for example, if there's a discharge from the eye, Ditza, if there's a pricking sensation in the eye, Dima, if there's blood coming from the eye, Dimas, if there's excessive tears from the eye, Vikidcha, if there's inflammation of the eye, Utchilas Uchlan, if there's the beginning of infection. And the Gemara says, Lafuke Sofuchla, that excludes, let's say, the end of infection where it's already healing, Upetzuche Eina, or treatment to open the eye, meaning to improve one's vision, Delo, that's not considered to be life-threatening. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda says, Zibura, the sting of a hornet, udecharze silva, and the prick of a thorn, v'simta, and let's say somebody has an abscess, udekoiv le'ein, or somebody has pain in the eye, v'yosi love yishasar, if somebody is overcome by fever, kulu b'nei voni sakanta, and all of those situations, going to the bathhouse poses a danger. And the Gemara continues, chama l'chama, eating radish is good for a fever, v'silka letzina, and beets are good for chills, v'chilufa sakanta, if you do the reverse, it's actually dangerous. And the Gemara continues, chamimi, eating hot food, la'akrava, that's good for the sting of a scorpion, ukriri, and eating cold food, lazibora, that's good for the sting of a hornet, v'chilufa sakanta, and again the reverse is considered to be a danger. And the Gemara continues along the same lines, chamimi, hot food, lasilva, that's good for a thorn, ukriri, and cold food, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Chavtes Amud Aleph.